Welcome back to iFishNews Fishing Podcast. Your host, Glenn, with City of Island Fishing Field Team, COAF Field Team on YouTube. And this time, we're going to learn to fish by our trials and errors. And, well, we're going to recap our latest, in this case, latest personal best for yours truly, fishing at Lake Lavon with some kayaks as well as jug lines. And so, just go a real quick, just chronologically, just walking through that trip and maybe point out some oopses as well as some lessons learned. Okay, so we started out, it was Saturday morning, this past Saturday, August 8th, and just loaded up the little Heritage Featherlight kayak. That's that little one that I like to use. And once made it back to the boat ramp and caught some shad, and it's always hit or miss catching shad, but this time of year, it's been pretty good so far. So at about 4, 5, 6 casts or so, I had enough to fill up the bait bucket, and we're able to head out to our spot. And what we did different this round was ended up bringing 9 total jug lines. 6 of them were the modified ones where I removed the little flagging portion of it. So there's a little weight that causes, or sort of like a counterweight that causes to flip over when you get a bite. And I modified them so I could take that weight off, and instead it would just kind of be free floating, so it would just get hit. And what we noticed in past instances, especially on windy days with those flagging jugs, is you get a lot of false indications of a strike. So by taking that off, it made it more able to ride the waves and the wind, and at the same time you could see the hit that the catfish was taking the bait, and we can actually see it much better, especially in these windy conditions, than we've seen with those little dumbbell style ones we've had, as well as the flagging style. So kind of shifting over there. Plus it's a little bit more lightweight than the other ones we have. Takes a little bit longer to deploy them, but in the end I think we're going to start using those. Plus another lesson learned this round was last time we went, we were using J hooks. This time went to circle hooks, and I believe got a better hookup rate with those circle hooks. So we'll just probably stick with circle hooks for the rest of the season. Anyhow, once we got everything deployed, what we did kind of different than other videos is we spread out the jug lines in past videos. So this time I decided, since I only had a total of 9, I went with 3, a pot of 3 or a group of 3 off the one area, and about 50 yards away another group of 3, about 10 feet apart in each of those groups. So a group of jug lines had 3, put about 10 feet apart, sort of like a little triangle diamond pattern, more triangle pattern. And then 50 yards from there, I set up another one. And the third set of jug lines, I actually ended up keeping them in the kayak because they were those free floating ones that didn't have any weight on them. So it was windy. I didn't want to go chasing around trying to keep track of them. So I ended up just deploying one of them in between the 2 sets. And as it turned out, it didn't get any hits on the free floating ones. So after that, the week before, we were getting hits about 10 o'clock. So this time we were getting hits fairly closely to when we'd launched. So I got there about 7:30, got some bait, was out there in the area about 8 o'clock, and soon after we were already getting hit. So I think what we also did different from the past one was we used smaller size bait. So went with a smaller size shad as well as cutting the shad when they were big. And I believe as a lesson learned going forward using that smaller, because we were mainly going for some eater size ones. And so right off the bat had a channel cat, and I think a little blue cat, and then ended up keeping one of the blue cats. So right off the bat it had 3 hits fairly close to each other in a row. 2 I let go, and then 1 I kept. And from there, soon after that, I think I was getting some hits, and I think in the last time we went, we were getting a strike where they would hit one jug, they'd stop, they'd hit another jug, and then they'd stop, and then they hit that final jug. So kind of like this time, very similar. They would hit a jug or a bait on a jug and kind of stop and then go to another one. But instead of going to the third one, they were really getting hit on the second one. So, hey, liking this setup of a group of 3, and then as we need to, we'll converge them onto the spot where they seem to be hitting. But in this case, ended up leaving them separate because I was getting consistent hits both sides. So good to be able to deploy them in that manner and just be able to just shift them as needed. Right about 9 o'clock or so, 9:30, there was one that has gotten a hit, ran up to the jug line, pulled it up, and there was another keeper. So I was putting that on the line, and then as I turned, I looked and I noticed I was missing a jug. And then as I was looking to where I thought it belonged, about 20 yards from there, it popped up. And right then I knew that it was going to be a big one. So when they go under and they make a run of that distance, about 20 yards, I know it was going to be a big one. So I made the run over there, grabbed it, and I could feel it tugging. And soon as I saw that tail pop up, I was saying I need to go look for some shoreline to bring this one to shore, because taking it in the kayak with no net wouldn't be a good idea, especially since the wind was picking up and the waves were starting to get a little bit more choppier. So ended up putting the jug back in the water and just letting it free float as the catfish was taking it wherever it was going to take, and just kept an eye on it, and then ended up picking up the other jug lines that I had deployed. Once I did that, just brought it back at a steady pace. Took about maybe 15-20 minutes of normally a 5-minute paddle to the area and back to the boat ramp, and just kept a steady pressure on the line. And then once I did that, I just needed to just keep on heading back to the boat ramp. As soon as I got to the boat ramp, got out and was able to pull it back ashore and make sure I didn't lose them. And sure enough, it was a good size one, but just about 32 inches or just over 32 inches in the picture that we posted. It looked like it's short of it, but it's from the angle, but it's definitely a 32 incher plus, slightly over, which takes about 14-pound catfish. And so my personal best, previous one that we had caught was over there at Bretonia Park. There were two of us in a John boat, and that one went 38 inches. And this one was only 32, but this time I did it by myself. So that one's called the personal best versus a team best. Okay? So that's how things went that morning. Some key takeaways is circle hooks. Do suggest using circle hook. From a jug line setup standpoint, really liking these non-flagging ones, so no weight on there to counterweight it. And compared to those little dumbbell ones we were using, I think I'm starting to lean over to these, because I definitely can see the strike on these versus the dumbbell ones. You have to really be paying attention to them to see the tug, because I guess there's some extra buoyancy in those jug line ones, or the dumbbell style ones. So more to come on there, but if you see in future videos, you'll probably see yours truly using those flagging or non-flagging jug lines. Okay, other thing, some question asked about number of hooks. I personally like using one, max 2 hooks on a jug line, and the main reason is I'm fishing shallow water, about 6 to 10 feet. If it is over 10 feet and I'm working in an area that's going to be deeper, I'll put 2 hooks, 2 foot off the bottom, and then another 2 foot above it, and then I leave it at that and just roll with it, basically. The other reason why I like using 1 to 2 hooks is in the state of Texas, you can use a max of 100 hooks at a time. If you put in the max that you can put on one jug line, 5, that only gives you 10 jugs to put out there. One person, no problem, 10 jugs, but one person, 5 hooks on one jug. Well, it gets a little dicey, especially when you got a nice size one and having to bring them in. Do keep that in mind when you're thinking of putting multiple hooks on a jug. It gets a little antsy when you've got a nice one, especially a good one, a good size one that's pulling on the line. You got to worry about several other hooks that are on the jug line itself. So do keep that in mind also. Additionally, some places that we've been fishing in the past recently is Highland Park. That's the one that we've been getting our consistent catfish bites. However, I have worked over there at Ticky Creek around the point. Actually, around the point, heading south to this one cove off that point has been a really good one for yours truly, as well as just off the boat ramp away so you don't interfere with any boat traffic. That's been fairly good too. There is a drop off there that seems to be pretty consistent with the catfish bite. And additionally, have worked over there by the power plant, Little Ridge Park. If you go on the far side as the discharge is, don't go on the side that's closer to the park, go on the other side. That seems to be also a consistent one. And then for the baits used, basically it's just shad, fresh caught shad with the cast net, either caught at the boat ramp or in this case, we've been freezing a few. But lately we've been able to just pretty much use the shad that we've caught at the boat ramp. All right, so all for now. Hope this helps and others in learning to fish by our trials and errors, especially when you're catching a nice size catfish this round. So do stay tuned. We're planning on doing some more of these videos as well as posting some more of these podcasts. We're still playing around with that GoFish camera, and I'm still trying to make that run up to Denison Dam to see if I can get some more of those stripers as well as gar. And of course, you got fly fishing season, or as well as trout stocking season just around the corner here in November with the Blue River. So that's always going to be a good one too. And oh, by the way, can't you believe it's already August? So guess what? Got to renew our fishing license at the end of the month. All right. Okay. So all for now. Till next time, we'll catch you all later. And good luck and good fishing. And thanks for joining us at iFishNews Fishing Podcast. And do also check out our City of Island Fishing Field Team, COAF Field Team on YouTube.